Okay, and we are live. Hello, my friends. My name is Evelyn Joy, and welcome back to my channel. I'm here with Teacher Shelley. Hi, Shelley.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to my channel. And I'm so excited to learn about LingoStar today. And we might talk about some other topics as well, but mostly LingoStar today. But I wanted to ask you, how did you get your start with teaching or online teaching? How did you begin?
That's a great question. So I started first with VIP Kid, and I think that was about 5 years ago. And I knew some people who were doing it, and I needed some money. And I was like, should I try it? And what's hilarious about that is that I got rejected at first.
Oh.
Which was a surprise to me because I've been a teacher all my life and I'm good at it. And I was really upset. And so I messaged them and I was like, I don't think this is right. I'm brand new to this online thing. And I think I can swing it if you give me another chance. And they did. They sent me something and then I made it. And I was with a VIP Kid for quite a while. And I added Magic Years later, which I loved Magic Years. It was fun. But, you know, as you know, a lot of those things kind of collapsed all at the same time. And then we all had to find something else. And so I've been through all the other companies and and I still have other companies and now I'm with LingoStar. So
very cool. That's awesome. Well, I wanted to interview you today because I had never heard of LingoStar. Maybe I've seen like people maybe talking about it on YouTube, but I haven't clicked on the video and watched to learn more about it. So I wanted to find out information straight from the source from a teacher who actually makes money with LingoStar. I want to know, like, where is let's start off with, where is LingoStar based? Do you know?
Okay. Okay. I do. And that's one thing that attracted me to them because I was a little bit concerned about the Chinese companies because especially with the government coming in and the restrictions that they had and like everything kind of collapsed all at once. And even though they're coming back, it's very slow. And so that was really devastating. So I was like, well, this one is based in Singapore. So I was like, well, that makes me feel a little bit better about that being based in Singapore, but they are still primarily working with the Chinese kids. So it's still that, but I felt a little bit better and more secure being in Singapore. And I do think that they would probably are trying to expand their market beyond China. But I'm still mostly just seeing China.
Okay, so my next question was going to be, where are the students from? So they're mostly Chinese students.
They are. I did have an exception recently where there was a mother. She's a Chinese mom, but she had moved to the U.S. and her kids were taking LingoStar in the U.S. She was in New York. And she even got my phone number and was texting me. And she's like, hey, I can do different times because I'm not in China. So we were able to do a little bit there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How long are the classes?
It's the standard. They're the 25-minute classes, just like everything else. I believe, like, you know, you get paid per the half hour, like everybody seems to do, right? So you have that little bit of time where you might run over with your class, just like with VIP Kids. So, you know, if you don't get it done, you know, you can go up until the point before your next class. So they're all like the 25-minute lessons.
That's awesome. It's nice to have that buffer of that 5 minutes in case you're like, your student might be late and you're trying to finish up a few slides before you finish or whatever the case may be, right? Do you know by any chance, what are the requirements to be a teacher for LingoStar?
Yeah, I believe it is pretty much the standard that everybody has where you have to have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't necessarily have to be in teaching. Now, the thing is that when I first looked into LingoStar, they were actively recruiting people with experience with VIP Kid and Magic Years. They specifically said those two. And I was like, ooh, I have those. So they want.
We're well trained in TPR.
Yes.
And being energetic and inviting the students in and all the things that make a great engaging online teacher, right? We're pretty good at it.
So if anybody is from those two areas or both, that is what they are really looking for. And it's kind of funny because one of the people who works at LingoStar, she contacted me through Ding Talk. If you did Magic Ears, you know they use Ding Talk, and so they like to use Ding Talk too, but probably not to the same extent. I haven't done a lot with it. So she contacted me and they wanted me to do just trials, and they were like, and we'll pay you whether they come or not. But they wanted me to do like 1 million trials. And I was like, I can't with my schedule. I can't do it. Even though they like, you know how they pressure you and pressure you. And I was like, I can't do it. But I talked to her a little bit and I found out that she was coming from VIP Kid. And she told me, she said, almost all the people in our organization are from VIP Kid or Magic Ears. So they've all jumped on this LingoStar, ship. And it's funny because you'll see with LingoStar, you're like, that looks familiar, oh yeah, Magic Ears did this and VIP Kid did that. And I can kind of see like the influence of the two on it, even though it is different. It's not the same, but you see like the influences of the different companies.
Yes, the borrowing of great ideas, but not like, do you know what is the requirement? I oftentimes get questions on my channel of like, is there a requirement of what country you have to physically live in order to teach? Or like, do you have to be a native English speaker? Like, what are those kind of requirements?
From what I could see, and I hate that I'm being a little wishy-washy on this, but but when I was going through the training process, I noticed that they had in their training videos, they had Filipinos. Okay. And I was like, So, and I know, a lot of companies have used like Filipino teachers, right? Mm-hmm. And so I noticed that they had that but they seem to be reaching out more to the native English speakers. And it looks like they really wanted some US native English speakers in there. I do think that they probably also have some British ones as well. The curriculum, this is crazy. The curriculum is all British, and it's okay. It's crazy. I have learned some words that I would never use.
Even VIP Kid used like the word pram instead of stroller and stuff like that sometimes.
Yep. Yes. I did not know what a lorry was. I was like, that's cool. I kind of like that name because it's
a lorry?
It's a semi-truck. And I was like, I kind of like that better. I like a lorry.
That's cute. Yeah. Sounds like a cute construction truck.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So they'll do things like that. And then I will usually, like in my feedback, I'll write like, especially for they've got a lesson all about like classroom items like this. And then one is for an eraser. And in the British way of speaking, they would say it's a rubber. And I was like, I don't call it a rubber. I would call it an eraser. So
I would say
feedback. Yeah.
I would say in English, they call it an eraser, and a rubber. And in America, they call it an eraser. It's important to know both, right? I teach Spanish online, and there's a lot of Spanish-speaking countries. So sometimes I use materials that teach like Spain Spanish, and I'll be like, this is what they call it in Spain, but most other countries call it this. Both words are correct. They're synonyms, but you have to be aware of both, sometimes.
Yeah.
The same is true in English. There's just more countries, so more variation in Spanish. So
yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, I've had a lesson like where, especially like when they're doing vegetables, and they'll say it's a tomato, and I'm like, I say tomato.
I would just say in England they say tomato, and in America we say tomato, same thing, right?
It's funny though, because the kids, like if they're younger, they'll get really confused and they'll say tomato, and I'm like, yes, it's tomato, and they're like, tomato. Like, yeah, sorry guys. But
I would say the same is true in China. There's different pronunciations if you go to the north or the south, right? There's variation in pronunciation of words sometimes, right?
That's right.
Very cool. So are you getting bookings right now?
Yes. And this is a really great thing because I didn't know if it would be like VIP Kid or not. Because if you remember when you start out with VIP Kid, it's like, just like, here's your one booking, and then you're waiting, and then they're like, okay, now you have two. And then it takes forever to build it up. This built up really, really fast. So I think as soon as I went active I think I had one right away, and I was like, oh, wow, that's a good sign. I got one immediately. And then I had like 3 or 4 right away, and it just seemed to build super fast. And then it was just full. Like I was like, oh, well, this is more than I need. I am working for a friend a couple days a week, and so I don't have as much availability for LingoStar as what they would like. They surely, like, they're always trying to entice you. Open up more slots, teacher. And I was like, I can't. It is awesome. I can't do it. But anything I open, it usually totally fills.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is really good news for me because I teach Spanish classes during the day without school. I'm not really looking to give up more of my daytime because I sort of have it worked around my homeschool schedule, and we do soccer and we do choir, we do homeschool co-op, we do all the things, right? Mm-hmm. But VIP Kid, I had opened bookings and I had taught for 2 weeks, and I was like, this is so perfect. I just get up a little bit earlier, teach like 4 to 6 classes, make a second paycheck. It's so amazing. Great side hustle. But then I had like 2 weeks of classes, and then for 2 weeks, I've had 0 bookings. And I'm like, this is so disappointing because I really need that side hustle to help. Because, with inflation, everything's more expensive now. Mm-hmm. I spent $90 on gas last week. I'm like, I need to be careful where I drive because this is getting really outrageous. You know what I mean?
I agree.
It's like, I guess we're staying home and we're not even going to the park. We're going to play in the backyard.
Yes.
Careful because soccer and homeschool co-op are far away. So it's a lot of gas. It's kind of like, ooh. We got to conserve where all we go. Anyway, but
I'm with you on that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I told my husband, because I do have other things going on as well. And I was like, well, maybe I can give less to LingoStar. And he's like, keep it around. And because the good thing about LingoStar versus some of my other ones, like I work for another company where I'm tutoring with different school districts. And that has an end. And that also has, I'm working when they're in school. So if they are out on break, I'm out on break, so different things like that. And he's like, keep that LingoStar, because that is something that is more of a constant thing that you can continuously do. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, and that will go through the summer. So it's a good thing.
And I know this is a complex question with a complex answer, but what generally does the pay look like with LingoStar?
Okay, so that is crazy. Now you probably remember that with VIP Kid, they went down in what they paid. They used to pay more, and then they're like, okay, now it's only $7 per class or whatever. This is kind of the same pay. So it is starting out $7 per class, which is $14 an hour, right? And they even give you a little less pay for trials, which I wasn't crazy about. It's like $6.50 per the trial, but the conversion bonus is you get an extra $5 on that. So yeah, and the weird thing is how they pay too. So they pay twice a month, and you don't get those conversions until the second half. So at the end of the month, and then they put it all together and stick it on the one check. So that's how that works. But it's really funny the way they do this. So you are an entry-level teacher making the $7. You can go up and make a little bit extra once you have so many regulars. And how they define regulars, and they have to be active. A regular student is somebody who has 8 major courses or lessons with you, and active, they've got to be booked with you at least once per month. So to get that, you need to have a certain availability. I haven't had that because my schedule is crazy. So I'm still entry-level teacher, and I'm like, whatever. It's just, it has to work for me. And I'm like, it works for me. I know I'm not making as much, but I have other things where I'm making more. So I'm like, whatever.
How many classes do you have to have taught in order to get past entry level?
And it's not really, I mean, it's just about if you've got a certain student and you have them for 8 classes or more, and they're still booking, and then you do that with I think you need to be over 3 of those. And yeah, so then it just goes up from there. So then the next level, you would have to have over 8 students doing that, and over 14 students, depending. And they've got to be over those 8 lessons. So it's per those students, not just in general, unfortunately. So. Mm-hmm.
What? Because I know I have subscribers who are former VIP Kid teachers who really want to know this. What would happen if you got a teacher no-show, heaven forbid? Like
Okay. And yeah, and they're very similar with VIP Kid. They do have like a soft cancellation and things like that. But yes, you will. I think you will be deducted. You will be deducted like the full class pay, for that. So that's one of the things. I did have. They've been pretty flexible though. I mean, I just kind of feel like even though they give you all the scares, that everybody does, like, teacher, don't be late. And, and they send you little reminders constantly and things like that. They've been really, really nice. I had one time where my computer just decided to do an update and I did not schedule it. You know how you can schedule and it just was like, I'm updating and I don't care. And I was like, not now. So, and I couldn't get out of it. I'm like, there's nothing I can do. It's doing it and there's nothing I can do. And I contacted them and I was like, okay, this is what's going on. I'm trying to get in. I am going to be a little bit late. And I didn't get penalized in any single way. Nothing. Awesome. I was like, all right, I was late and I stayed a little bit after just to, get it done. But they've been really, really good that way. I mean, as long as you're being good about getting there, I think that they're super flexible and that they'll be understanding for the most part. But they do have things like if you have a death in the family, if you're sick or whatever, just let us know. They were a little bit rough with me as far as so they tried to encourage us all, open your slots for 4 weeks or 8 weeks, as long as you can, because parents want to know that. And you can cancel within, they give us a 7-day window. As long as you do it before 7 days, you can cancel. So open those slots, right? So I did. And then my husband said, hey, for that week in October that I'm off, he's like, don't teach that week. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm already booked. So I contacted them. And at first it was like, oh, well, you need to contact this person and you need to contact that person. They were not super easy about it. And I finally said, hey, this is in the email. And I showed them, I saved it. I was like, here's the email. It says 7 days, I can cancel. They finally did it.
You taught us.
So
good to know. Good to know. Is there any sort of short notice bonus within 24 hours or anything like that?
Oh, I wish, because that was the great thing about Magic Years. Magic Years was like, oh, you can pick up these quick classes and they pay you like extra. And it was wonderful. I mean, I was mostly just doing those. This one, no. So they did say like you can say yes to getting a class 2 hours before. You can say yes to that, but there's no extra money in it, unfortunately. So, yeah.
So you mentioned that they pay every 2 weeks. What day of the week do they pay when it's every 2 weeks?
So, well, it's actually twice a month. So, they will do, they'll split the month in half. Like they'll say like the 1st through the 15th is a pay period. And then the 16th to the end is another pay period. So, and then they've got like 10 days to get you that pay. Right. So so they'll do it that way. So I'm still waiting to hear. Yeah.
Like the 25th is one of the paychecks because it's 10 days after the 15th or something like that.
Right. So it'd be about that. Now I would say they did come in within that 10 days. It was not that bad. It came before the 10 days was up. They did warn us about this one because of the Chinese holiday that's happening right now, Mid-Autumn Festival. Plus they've got, I think their, what's the other one? Their national days in there too. So because they've got both of those different holidays, they're like, yeah, it's probably going to come at the very end. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then some companies pay, like OutSchool pays to PayPal or like VIP Kid pays to your account. What's the form of getting your pay with?
That's exactly right. So and Magic Years did that too with the PayPal.
Oh, is it PayPal with LingoStar?
Yep, LingoStar does PayPal. They did say that you can get a bank card, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that.
Oh, like a PayPal debit card?
Yeah, it would go on a card or something. And I was like, I just sent it to PayPal. It was just easier. So.
Oh, you mean get a card? Maybe.
Yeah.
More complicated. Very cool. Very cool. So PayPal is, I know how to navigate that. It's not like there was one company that I tried applying for and they wanted me to get this whole new app I'd not heard of. And I was like, I don't like all this. I don't remember what that was a while ago. I don't remember the details with that, but it was kind of a Chinese thing. Anyway. Well, that's awesome to know. It's also really awesome for me to be talking to you because sometimes, like, if we teach for 2 weeks and wait 10 more days, like my first time working for VIP Kid, my husband and I were like, is this a scam? Have you just taught for free? Are you never getting paid? You know what I mean? There's always those questions. So it's so nice for me to not just like Google the information and share it on YouTube, but to talk to a teacher who is getting paid by them and it's not a scam, right? So,
not a scam. I was worried too, especially because like, unlike VIP Kid, you know, they're still working on setting up their whole platform, right? And there was nowhere for me to see like, this is how much I've made so far, right? It didn't show that. And like with VIP Kid, you could see like your balance every time. You're like, okay, so here it keeps going in. So I'm like, all right, you know, they are keeping track of this, right? And they do actually. And when you get paid, they send you an Excel sheet and it lists like all of your classes, how much you were paid for each one. If anything strange happened, it's all there. So I was like, okay. It's good. It's a little nerve-wracking when you can't see that until the end. You're like, oh, all right. So.
It's like, ooh, what's going to happen? But once you get the hang of it, you get used to their system. Do you like their curriculum that they have?
It's really good for many, many reasons. And they give us a lot of leeway too. So if you remember, like with VIP Kid, they're like, you teach every slide, you know, you make sure you do everything. And they're like, they want you to see every slide, but they have specifically said, oops, sorry.
Not right now, but I'm on the conversation. Sorry, can you say that last sentence one more time?
That's okay. But they have specifically told us that you need to use your judgment. If there are certain slides that, you know, don't work well with that student and you want to go quickly through them, you go ahead, you know, or if you want to spend more time on a certain slide than others, that's okay too. Yeah. So there's a lot of leeway in there. I would say that they've got some of the most interactive slides that I have seen. There's always like a lot of moving parts and things that you got to click on and do. Right. And they can go like long or short. That's what I like about some of theirs too. Like they will have a slide where there's a whole bunch of things you can do on it. And you can use your time to say, all right, I'm running short. I'm only going to do a couple, or, oh man, I'm like way ahead of time. I'm going to do this one for a long time. Right. Mm-hmm. So they've got like a lot of flexibility with some of their slides. And I like that. Sometimes they're so interactive that, you know, with VIP Kid, we were always doing like these mega rewards, like, oh, you know, especially because some of the slides were kind of boring.
You get an ice cream
compound. Right. Yeah. So we really needed to pull a lot more into it. Their slides have a lot ready to go that you're just like, wow, you've thought of like many things and pulled them in. So it almost makes you wonder, like, did they learn a lot from the VIP Kid teachers? And then, you know, I don't know. You know,
like they took things that they liked and they added to it. And
seriously, there was a slide where they wanted you to practice saying certain words, and so they had on the side, they had a picture of a monster, a picture of a microphone, a picture of two other things, and you click on it and say like, I want to hear you say this with the monster voice. I want to hear you say this loud. And I was like, you know, this is stuff that we would do, but then it's already incorporated on the slide.
I love that.
I know.
Because you might be tired and not think of it, and it's giving you the ideas. You don't have to come up with it yourself in the moment.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. They even had a slide recently that I did where they had a Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, and then we would move the slide, the eyes over or the hat or whatever.
That's so
fun. I was like, yeah, this is stuff that we did, you know, just on our own. And here they have it already on the slide. So.
Yes, that's awesome.
He likes props.
Joshy, do you want to say hi?
Hi. Hey.
All right. Very cool. And then is there anything that you want to say about like classical conversations or Signition before we finish our conversation?
I can. Yeah, those are two other things that I do. Right now, I am not a challenge director, even though I am contracted this year, but our group, the upcoming group that I was supposed to get totally fell apart. Like they completely fell apart. So I am not a director this year. And I was very, very sad because I love directing for CC Challenge. If anybody knows about that, the challenge years are from 7th grade through 12th grade. And it is that when you get to that part of classical conversations, it is a full curriculum. Before that, it's not. It's like a skeleton of your curriculum and you add to it. But for 7th through 12th, it's everything. So
I just realized, okay, classical conversations, I don't know what it is, but it's a homeschooling thing.
Yes, so it's a community. So, and they're all over the country. So by us, we've got several different groups. I'm in a particular group that we've been in since my daughter was in kindergarten. And so she's hoping to graduate with that group, even though, you know, people have come and gone and there's been changes. Her best friend has been there with her since kindergarten and they're in 9th grade together in class. So that's kind of fun. But
is it in person as well as online?
Once a week, it's in person. It's not online at all.
Oh, it's not online. It's in person. Oh, okay.
It's in person, right? So I was the director for her 8th grade class last year. And so we would do all of our work during the week that's mentioned in the guide. And then we would show up and we would share what we did and we would do other activities. And it's a good chance for them to feel like, hey, we're a classroom here, right? Okay. But you're also a homeschool. So.
You have a question, Joshie? I was just remembering where I've heard classical conversations before. We have homeschool choir at a church, and at the same time we meet, classical conversation meets on the other side of the church. So I'd heard that name, but I didn't know what exactly it was. That's very cool. Very cool. And then what is Signition? Do you want to tell us about
Sure. So Signition is my company that I started with 2 years ago. And at the time they were only doing math tutoring and that's all they did. And that was online. They've added ELA. And that's really fun. I like that they do that. They have grown.
ELA stands for, what does ELA stand for?
English Language Arts. So, yep. So, yep, they have that as well as the math. And it goes from all the way from K to 12. You get to teach different subject areas or different grade levels, depending on what you want to do. Plus, they do their own little certification, kind of like BIP Kid does too, you know, where you have to pass a test and then now you're certified to do this. So we do that. They just had a major hiring because they got a new contract with Ohio. And they're going to be adding another one, I think, as well. But they did a major hiring. I think they're pretty done now. They're done for a while. So, I mean, I wouldn't tell everybody, go out and do Signition yet. I would, if you want to, I would probably do it again in the next fall because they will probably be adding more. And then they'll have a big, huge hiring again. So.
Awesome. Well, the last thing on my list to talk about is we're both homeschool moms. Is there anything you would like to talk about, the benefits of homeschooling or your experiences?
Oh, wow. Well, you know, I used to be a teacher in both public and private schools before my daughter was born. And I was last in a public school. And when she was born, I was like, you know, maybe I'll homeschool. My husband was like, oh, you should totally do it. And I wasn't going to because I was told like, oh, well, you live in like one of the top places for schools. And then that's when the whole Common Core stuff came out. And I was like, I don't know if I want to, you know, this doesn't look good. So maybe I will homeschool. And since I have, I would say, I think everybody should. I'm sorry. It's just like. I think
that's useful too. Yeah.
Right. You know, and especially after being in classical conversations, I mean, there was so much that I learned that through classical conversations that I'm like, wow, why didn't we learn this in school? There's so much out there that we just, education has been definitely on a decline for many years. And we all like to think, oh, I turned out okay. And yes, you can read and write and you can communicate, but there's so much knowledge that we were not given and we weren't even given the chance or the opportunity to do. And that's what's really sad. And I feel like this has been my opportunity to relearn and to fill in the gaps of my own education by going through my daughter's education. I mean, with our classical conversations, we've learned logic. I have been doing Latin with her. Wow, is that complex? You know, I have diagram sentences, and it has really solidified all the education from the past and put it together. And I have much better understanding of so much. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So many things like the Common Core and the pandemic, things have kind of forced us into considering homeschool more and more. And then, you know, realizing the benefits once you're in it of like, wow, I get more time with my kids and childhood goes by so fast. And there's so many things you can learn at home, like all the things. Not everything can be learned in a classroom. A lot of things are learned hands-on in the real world, you know, and so it's really cool, really cool.
I would agree with all of that for sure. Yes.
Awesome. Well, we've been talking for 30 minutes. I'm done using up your time, but thank you so much, Shelley, for sharing all that important information with us.
Right. And if anybody wants to, I think you have a link for me for LingoStar. Hey, I would be willing to help anybody too. I will say, like, getting into LingoStar, if you were a VIP Kid or Magic Years teacher, it's easy.
Awesome. And I'm going to be applying under your referral link, and I'll be sharing my experiences on YouTube, and I'll be continuing to share your referral link. I'm going to put it it's in the comments already.
Okay.
But I'm also going to put it in the description of this video as well.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Evelyn.
Yeah, for everybody that's watching, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.